Great. Can everyone hear me, folks at the back? Excellent. Thank you. So you're here to hear about Workplace and MyAnalytics. If you're here for a different reason, now's a good time to make sure. So I'm Kamal Janardhan. I am the Director of PM for Workplace and MyAnalytics, the two products that we're here to talk about. And I and my team will talk you through what is our aspiration for the products, what they actually do, and then show you a set of demos. We also have an interactive exercise in the middle. And if you participate and then come to our booth, we have swag for you. So please do. It's very simple. You read the handout that you've got in the new text. But let me get started. So why are we here, and what are our goals for today? So the first piece of it is to talk through how we can fuel cultural and digital transformation with data. And the first thing is to say cultural and digital transformation really quickly 5 times. Can you do that? OK. So it's a prerequisite to do this presentation, by the way. The second one is to actually talk about customers who have attempted to implement this, who are using our product, and what change they've actually seen. So how many folks in here attended the fireside chat that we had yesterday, or who are customers already of Workplace Analytics? Either of those? OK, I saw 3 or 4 hands. Great. So we'll talk a little bit about those stories and why this is actually real. And the third one is to just talk to you about the product. So let's wait here a moment. About, I would say, 5 or 6 years ago, and even 10 years ago when we first started Office 365. And I've been at Microsoft since the beginning of Office 365, when we were just a bunch of separate apps, and we decided to put them in the cloud. And the biggest problem our customers came to us with was, how do I have storage, high availability? How do I make sure I don't lose my data, or just manage to have fidelity and data completeness? And we were like, bring it to the cloud. Those problems that companies are facing have completely changed. Today, what we hear from our customers is, how do I transform my business? We have Airbnb that in a handful of years has more market cap than the entire hotel industry of the world. We have Uber that in a short timeline has increased their market cap than the entire taxi services in the world today. So given those shifts in the way people do business, how businesses manage their data, enable productivity, how do you transform your business besides just providing storage and availability and a good service? So some data that's out there about this is that there is a need for some sort of cultural transformation. And those words, we'll talk more about what they actually mean, what that phrase means. But there is a generally held belief, and data to back it up, that companies that focus on this change and are proactive about it are 5x more likely to succeed. And that likely to succeed ties to actual business results, improved revenue. The second piece of it is, I talked about Uber and I talked about Airbnb. Industries are in a state of change. And transformation is just a fact of life. Companies are either shifting geography, they're shifting the way they manage their data, how they do business. But 50%, half of those transformations, fail because the individuals in those organizations cannot change, or find it difficult to change, or aren't given the tools to actually enable that change. And we believe that all of that data that got put together in the cloud when you moved to, say, M365, or any cloud service, really, bringing all of that information from its individual silos and organizations, and creating a normalized view of the information and the activity and what that means for your business, we believe it can take that culture change, that transformation, from a soft science, which is, let's do these and hope that the business improves, to a hard science. Here are the numbers that actually enable that change. So this is the world as we see it today. What does that mean for end users? Why is it difficult? Well, one of the very basic ways that things are changing and have changed for end users is the war on attention. So we spend, and our customers within M365 spend an inordinate amount of time on email. As the company that invented Outlook, we understand that. We are supportive of that. We understand that we gave you this tool that was very effective for a particular kind of communication, but we also recognize the challenges of that tool and how we can help you when it becomes a cognitive load issue, or creates overload, or creates a war on your attention span and your productivity. And these numbers about extreme multitasking, about the switching back and forth, actually hurts individuals, hurts their productivity, and then in turn hurts the organization. And so we've spent some research on both the impact on the organization and also the way we do business and how we actually work with tools today causes individuals to be less productive. And some of that research on the right-hand side about all interruptions aren't equal, getting breaks is critical, that there are individual differences. Now, one of the cool, interesting things about that research is that there are two personas. One is the persona of the impulsive person, and the second is the persona of the compulsive person. And we learned this very quickly in the product, where one version of our product says, you should do this to get more productive, to manage your time better. And we got a bunch of feedback that was, don't tell me what to do. And so we then changed our tone, and we realized there were a set of people who actually what they wanted was, we suggest if you want to do this, perhaps you could do this to manage your time better. And what we found was that, first of all, the way people manage their attention, these interruptions, their time, is personalized, it's individual. And then there are people who actually manage their time completely well, the people who don't want to be told what to do, and they need to be reminded to take breaks. So they need to be reminded to actually ensure that when their work is becoming less productive, that they actually stop, step back, and then come back to it. Just quick show of hands. How many people think they are the compulsive type who needs to be reminded to take breaks? Cool. How many people think they are the impulsive type who needs to have all distractions removed? Excellent. So that was about a 65 split, 65-35 split over there, and that is pretty much exactly what the research says. It has like a 64-36 split percentage in what we conducted. So, and the thought is also the reason why we have more compulsive people who need to be reminded to take breaks is because information worker tasks, the tools we have, just automatically strengthen that muscle of making you go, 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 which is why at the end of the day, you're a little bit tired. And now we have all this research that says business results are actually hampered if that is the way we work without changing something. So this data tells us we have to change something. And we're not alone in thinking this. This is a list of companies who today have implemented programs with our products and have been willing to have their logos actually shared with our other customers to say, we believe that we needed to change the way we do business, and we actually implemented the products to do something about it. And I'm going to talk about stories of how customers use the products and details about them. And one of them, in the case of Macy's, for example, is publicly shareable, so we're going to talk through their story. Okay, so let's talk through some customer stories. One customer story was about an organization that had challenges with attrition in certain pockets. And they had implemented a lot of programs that were these proactive programs, surveys, talk to the managers, and they got sort of general information about there's overload, collaboration overload, there is you should pay me more, you should improve our hours, any sets of things that went from the very expected and natural. And they implemented some of those changes, but they didn't see that actual quantitative way to make change. They then went and looked at the data around those organizations. And this really, the amount of resources and money they were losing because of attrition. So effectively, it is so much cheaper to keep an employee and to rehire them and re-recruit them than to lose an employee and bring a new one on board. That's just a bottom line impact, that it had reached the point where it had C-suite visibility. So what they did was start looking at how often do these employees meet with their managers. Pretty simple. It was always aggregated, so you couldn't actually pinpoint a specific manager. You had ingested or imported all of the role data, so you could tell who was a manager and who was not. You could kind of tell sizes of teams, but you couldn't actually pinpoint a single person or a single manager. And they looked at how often did this happen. And for those people who had below average, they implemented a program to remind them to meet more often. Now, how many folks have heard of the quote that employees don't leave companies, they leave their managers? Yes. And it has been borne out time and time again. And this is not because someone is a good or a bad manager. It is just the reality that we are humans, and our impression of a larger abstraction is based on the human we spent the most time with. I have two people from my team here, and they have used this product on me. So, and they might tell you stories about it, but I hope not. But effectively, what they did was they looked at this data, and they created a program that nudged people to have more manager one-on-ones. And what they saw within a certain period of time, effectively the full cycle, was that the attrition rate went down, directly correlated with the number of manager hours within a certain range. So in 14 months, they saw an actual turnaround that impacted the bottom line. Story number one.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Being a foreigner here today, can you explain attrition?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I'll repeat the question. And if you, by the way, I love questions. Thank you for them. If we kind of spend too much time on them, I might, but feel free to use the mics as well if you want everyone to hear your question. The definition was what was attrition. So my bad. Let me, as also not necessarily a native English speaker, I completely appreciate the question. Attrition effectively means when employees leave. So an employee leaves a company, and that report or that trend line is often called the attrition trend line, or what is your attrition trend for your organization? Thank you. The second one, the second transformation story, was about sales excellence. So here we had an organization that was doing pretty well. It's kind of not a challenge story, but actually an opportunity story to say, how can we get even better with our sales productivity? And so they looked at the data of collaboration between their sales org and external companies, and they discovered that their sales teams aggregated that were the top performers, got the best bottom line results, spent 33% more hours with customers, spend 25% more time with management in their organization, and a 25% larger size of their internal network. And the company looked at this and said, the first one, I get it. You spend more time with customers, you get better results. But the second two were fascinating because they were equally relevant to their productivity and their success. That you got time with an executive who actually helped you navigate, and third, that you had a large internal network that actually allowed you to service your customers better. And so we, based on these results, have implemented a program within Microsoft that we talked about at the Fireside Chat, where today we are on the process of having every salesperson in Microsoft get a mail that tells them what do these numbers look like. And this is not shared with their manager, right? It is just for them. The manager gets to see aggregated results and reminds them if they are following below or above to take the right action. So a nudge, not ever intended as a, go do this, but actually increasing good behavior. And what we found was, even though only about 30% of the organization actually adopted it, they saw a 200 million plus increase in revenue, and the quota attainment that was based on was effectively adopters saw their quota attainment jump to 130%. So here's a case where you had very direct impact. Third story, and this is the story of Macy's. Macy's, brick and mortar store, looking to have a digital transformation. How do they operate in this new business, in this new world? And one of the things they found in their product divisions was, through engagement surveys, was that employees had to deal with collaboration overload. So how many people in this room have been at a meeting that they think is useless? Excellent. I'm looking for that person who's eating a banana and not raising his hand. It's okay. The only person who didn't raise their hand, incidentally, was someone who had both hands full and was busy. So one of the real challenges of the tools we have created for us to work more productively is the fact that we make it very easy to set up certain kinds of contact. And it is such a great fact that if someone came to our door and said, you know what, give me $100, we'd be like, no, what is it for? But someone puts a meeting on your calendar and you're like, okay, maybe I should accept it. Maybe. I just feel guilty if I don't. And so that whole normative behavior, what it sets up when the most valuable resource you have is your time, is something that Macy's specifically wanted to see what they could do about. And what they found was that there was a completely direct correlation with engagement and innovation. And both of these metrics of engagement and innovation was defined by the survey. So what kind of production the employees feel they had. And they found that the number of meetings they had with 21 plus attendees, innovation went down. The percentage of recurring meetings caused innovation to go down. And the number of times that they were in meetings with their manager, and this was actually within a range, so it wasn't like every meeting with their manager. It was when it exceeded a certain amount, they also felt that their engagement and innovation went down. And so effectively what they did was got together as a group, certain pockets, and we discovered from building this customer story with Macy's that it was necessary to do it as a group. It's all very well for me to say I have no meetings, but my peers and my team are essentially going to be like, do we know about this? Can we meet with you? So it needs to be a collective effort. And so what we found was that as you reduce the number of meeting hours and increase the number of focus hours, the organizational load, which is essentially a definition of the load placed on an individual in the organization, went down. And employee surveys post that with the teams who implemented it show that all the employees were more engaged and that innovation went up. And they're in the process now of looking at how that ties to the bottom line. Are the products that are built by those teams more successful, et cetera? So all of these stories that I told you are backed by a volume of research. This is human research, cognitive research, organizational research. And a lot of those papers, in fact, all of these specifically, are created and published with our team. So we have these deep academic relationships, as well as publishing relationships with the Harvard Business Review, with Harvard, with organizations that are researching this, because effectively we realize this is incredibly new. As I said, 10 years ago, we were worried about fault tolerance of data as our number one concern, losing data. Now we're thinking about how to get more out of that data, how to deal with human cognitive load. Okay, so that was our customer stories. Let's talk a little bit about how we hope and our approach to trying to give solutions for them. Everything starts with the individual to solve this. You heard me talk at Macy's, the story about collaboration overload, and what we built was a teamwork solution. Well, these are the three pillars along which we want to implement change. And what we've heard from our individuals is, the first one is teamwork. So an example of a teamwork solution is, you know when someone onboards newly to a team, and typically the first time they don't know what the norms are, so there'll be this person who sends out the 1.5-hour meeting, because that was the norm from their previous team. And what usually happens is they do it a few times, and then someone comes and takes them aside and says, hey man, that's like, just don't do that. We do 30-minute meetings here, right? And they feel really bad, they get over it, but then they go, and that's how people learn norms. Imagine if the software, when you scheduled a meeting, said the norm in your organization is 30-minute meetings. You have reduced the amount of time wasted. You have improved the entire relationship for that employee, because fish out of water, cognition, not being included, not knowing when you're doing the right thing with your environment, places an enormous amount of stress and load on individuals. And so that is an example of how you can have simple things about norms and driving productivity with those norms. The norm is to have an agenda. The norm is to ensure that if there's a decision-making meeting and a mail thread looks like it's going on fairly long, let's meet. We have a nudge today in Outlook that says, looks like this thread is going on fairly long. Would it be helped by a meeting? And so there's a nudge, and you can say, no, that's not the case over here, or as frequently happens, you take 30 minutes to schedule it, and it helps you do that task. The second one is focus. Individuals, we need a combination of what we call we time and me time. We time is collaboration time, teamwork time. Me time is time I need to focus and solve problems. This is the nature of information work. And so ensuring that you have enough focus time to allow you to feel productive at the end of the day is the core of that pillar. How many folks have had those days where you spend the whole day working, you've been busy the whole time, but at the end of the day, you're like, what did I get done? Cool, that's a high correlation with the impulsive people, so I relate. The third one is connection, and this is really about people. One of the highest markers of job satisfaction, success, you saw it in the sales productivity scenario about the internal network, is how well connected are you to the people you work with? How often do you meet with the people that are important? Your manager is one case in point. How often do you maintain important relationships? So we have essentially AI in Office 365 that surfaces for you based on your activity, who are the people that are important to you, and shows you what your pattern of activity is with them. And the reason why we show who's important to you is because you can look at that list and go, is that who I'm spending time with? They're not that important, and you can change it and get reminders about driving that change. Or you can look at that and say, that makes sense. You can also include in that, once you have built or told the system who are the people important to you, reminders to say, you haven't met with this person in a long time. Some of the things we're working on there is, there are people that I meet with very frequently who are important, and there are people that I meet with very rarely who are also important. And so how can it make sure that the system adapts and corresponds to both of those? Meet with Satya very rarely, but if I get a mail with him, gosh, that's pretty important. I meet with my team all the time, equally important. You heard me say that, right? Okay, so that was how we want to help individuals. That pattern put all of those individuals together and translate it to an organization. And what we're hearing from organizations is 3 pillars for an organization. I divide these 3 pillars into time, knowledge, and people. Again, create capacity. This is just when individuals are being more efficient with their time and teams are being more efficient with their time. This is an example is the Macy's story. Then organizations are more efficient with their time and innovation goes up. The second one, which is grow mastery, which is about knowledge. Because information work and knowledge and expertise is so important in organizations today, this is to understand who are your top performers, who are the experts in your organization. When you look at, for example, a graph of activity, you can see that there are some people who are managers who are a hub of activity, and then some people who are not. And often those people are the knowledge brokers. They're the ones who translate information from one part of the org to the other, and they are essential for building bridges. The third one, which is networks, and harnessing networks and orchestrating, creating, is case study over here is when you acquire a company and you see how long it takes for that company's traffic and the communication to become embedded and the same as an acquired team to look the same as a team that has been in a company for a long time. And so kind of interestingly, we did this with our team as well because half of our team came to Microsoft with an acquisition of a company called Volumetrics. And so it's been fascinating to watch how they actually get embedded as our leadership team shifts. As there are some of us who've been in Microsoft a really long time and from Office 365, and there are people who are not from Microsoft, and how you bring those together, and the truism of diverse teams, diverse in that way, not just diverse teams in the fact that you have people who look completely different but think exactly the same, but actual diversity that we think differently. Enabling things like that falls into that third pillar. Okay, so talking a little bit about the problems and how we're going to solve them, I'm going to ask you to play along with me now. I'd like you to take the handout that you've got, and what we're going to do in this exercise now, I'd like you to take 3 minutes to read it. And the purpose of reading this is to pick the top 2 that mean the most to you, that you think are most relevant to your organization. So if you could just take a minute to read through those, that would be great. I really wanted music at this point, and we were like hypothesizing what song would be good. Work, work, work was one suggestion. Okay. Any others? You're welcome. And effectively, this is divided into questions your leaders should ask and the data that would be tied to it. So just reading through and thinking about which 2 just leap out to you as most relevant for your organization. If anyone doesn't have a handout, I'm happy to give them one, or folks over here will hand you extras if you haven't got one. You got 1 more minute?
Possible to use with
Okay, well, let's see. We have our overachiever there. He is done. Okay, so if you have finished reading it, then the next thing you should do is take out your phone and text Ignite to that number over there. What that will do is bring you into the poll.
Yeah, but that was the question. Does it really work with?
It does.
You don't have to have an American line.
It'll work as long as you can. Try texting the number and then let us know. If not, someone from here will. But it should actually work because my phone is dual SIM and it works. Okay, so are folks done reading? Anyone still reading? Okay, so next is you text that number to open the poll. Oops. Let's see. And then what you should do is, I'm going to read out this to you, and if you believe that the number 1 problem in your organization today, and I'm going to just list these out, is collaboration overload, that's the first one, After you text Ignite to 22333, you should text A.
Doesn't work.
For any of you? Okay. Bummer. Okay. So let's do show of hands then. How many people, we were going to try to be really cool, by the way, and there was going to show a graph that would appear while you were entering this, but I will read out the results. So the 6 letters that we're going to go through, first of all, is challenges with teamwork. How time gets spent with teamwork is A. Process inefficiencies. So this is where our processes take too long, they're not very efficient, is B. C is top performer behaviors. So wanting to understand what the best people do and how they do it differently. So companies that are customer service facing tend to be very kind of well-tied or correlated to this. That is C. D is management practices. So companies that are trying to shift, they're either doing global outsourcing, shifting, that becomes D. E is where you don't have communication across the organization, you have silos, is E. And F is physical space planning, so workspace effectiveness. An example of F is when Microsoft went to open space, we actually did a survey of using this to determine whether collaboration went down or went up. I'll share the answer after we finished doing the quiz. Okay, so how many people think the #1 problem in your organization is teamwork or collaboration overload and challenges with that? Cool. Wow, that is a fairly large number. Okay. How many people think process inefficiencies is #1? Okay. How many people think top performer behaviors is #1? Okay, because you're cool. How many people think management practices is #1? Okay. And how many people think silos or lack of communication, organizational rigidity is #1? Okay. And last of all, workspace planning. So effectively planning your workspaces is #1. Okay, cool. So the one that was the unanimous winner very clearly was teamwork and collaboration overload. And that makes me very, very happy because the first solution that we have actually built that Noel will be demoing later is around teamwork and collaboration overload. #2 was process inefficiencies. And so the fact that the way you run your business, what is critical, that you have wastage, how can you move faster, how can you be more agile is the word we hear a lot, was the shared #2. So that's fascinating. Thank you. Top performers was the lowest, or in the bottom 2. Management practices, pretty close, a little bit higher. Organizational silos went up, and I would say workplace planning was below organizational silos, but higher than top performers and management practices. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. What you have effectively done by actually doing that quick survey is exactly what all our customers do the first time after they've seen the product. So what we do is meet with our customers, we talk through their business challenges, and then we do a very similar conversation. And we ask them, what is top of mind for their C-suite? And they pick one, and then we work through that problem to get to the customer stories you saw in the first slide. So thank you very, very much. We almost had a glimmer of it. I promise. Anyone, you should take our email addresses, and we will be compelled to mail all of you the chart that was going to actually, in real time, pull it up. Okay. So moving on now. Customer stories, our process for how we work with our customers to actually discover them. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the product that we're building that aspires to help you achieve success or value with it. Any quick questions before I go on?
I don't know if it's a really good one. Have you had to deal with companies that operate in countries that don't allow user tracking behaviors?
I love it. I love it. In fact, thank you for leading me up for that. So the question was, do we work in countries? And I'm going to answer that question a little bit and then go on with the presentation and then answer it. That question was effectively, do you have to work with users in countries that don't allow user tracking and privacy? All of the EU? Yes. So let's talk about that. That's actually a very, very key promise. And The expectation of Microsoft around privacy and compliance is extremely high because we actually store such large subsets of end user data. So hold that thought, and I'm going to. So all of the solutions we saw in all of our product is built on what we call the Microsoft Graph. This is effectively all of that activity data brought together, normalized, allowing you to do searches, and allowing you to build higher level abstractions about what that data actually means. Email and meeting activity is a big piece of what funds the product today, but we've recently added Skype and Teams is coming. And the goal is that the principles around privacy that drive it are fairly simple. There are two common principles, and there's an entire session that Deepak will be doing on this. The two principles I'll talk to answer that question is, any data that we extract from this that identifies a user is visible only to you. So for example, in that top performer slide, we had an interesting conversation. Have folks heard of the Leo Tolstoy quote? All happy families are similar, but unhappy families are different in their own way, are unhappy in their own way. Fascinatingly, all the research points to the fact that behaviors around top performers, or good behaviors, are very common and can be generalized. But reasons for poor performance are very hard to generalize. They're very different. So products that target and drive top performer behavior are effective. It is ineffective to drive tracking and low performer behavior. And what that actually leads to, and the reason I call that out is, a big reason for these privacy principles is it's illegal and not allowed to ever create solutions that track employee behavior and draw those kinds of correlations. And so what we make sure is that any individual employee information or user information is visible only to that end user. The moment you get to the aggregated or the organization, it is always aggregated, and it can never be smaller than a subset. Today we use 5, but as we add more properties, we may increase that or reduce that to make sure that you can never actually hone it down to an actual single person. And these two principles are really the bedrock and why they are able to allow us to use trending information. Now, the nice thing is we're able to get successful customer information and data with the aggregated data. It's actually not that important to know the specifics, but to know the trends. Okay. The two products we're going to talk about today that are built on that Microsoft Graph. One is for decision makers, that is Workplace Analytics, that's our organizational product. And the second one for individuals is MyAnalytics. And the notion with Workplace Analytics is we take all of that information and create that aggregated view that allows you to identify or understand opportunities or anomalies in your organization. Simply put, imagine a dashboard that tells your leader when activity shifts in the organization in an aggregated way. That data or that chart of activity with a particular group or a particular geography tied to the business decision maker's instinct or knowledge allows you to then draw a certain conclusion. An example here is the attrition story I told you, where you were able to say that business leader saw poor manager behavior. They had separate knowledge of attrition challenges in those different organizations. Their instinct and knowledge there allowed him to put that together and then implement the program. So this is effectively giving those decision makers a different tool. The second piece of it, after you have identified the opportunity or the challenge, is then to implement the change. And so think of MyAnalytics as both the representation of that activity, that graph around focus and teamwork and your connections. In addition to that chart, also think of it as the place where you get nudged about the right direction to do things and how to do things. So where you can change an organization with identifying, changing, and then finally measuring, you can do the same for an individual. The measurement part is where that dashboard I showed you, going from soft science to hard science, allows you to say, these were the activities when I started, the correlation I made with the challenge as I worked through the data, and then you're able to see that graph shift and see the business outcome achieved. We are part of the larger Office 365 story with both our developer story with Microsoft Graph Data Connect. They have sessions, as well as all this data that we offer you with looking at this information within Power BI or Excel or any of our analyst tools. So you can do the analysis within the WPA product and then create, say, dashboards that can be used within an organization. And Deepak will be demoing some of that. So the two products that we're here to talk about. A few things to add to the structure of how we think about Workplace and MyAnalytics before we actually show you the products. Our big investments when we think about both of these, some common threads through them. The first one is signals or breadth. What I mean here is we have to get information about user activity wherever the user lives, because you have told us that where the user lives helps me define how I can enable that change. So pulling in data not only from email and meetings, but also from OneDrive and SharePoint and Skype and Teams, and Noel will show you some of that. An early demo of the Skype work is a big part of our investments. The second piece of our investments is creating a user journey that has a view for both the decision maker, that shows them those graphs where there are anomalies in activity, as well as for the analyst and for the end user, where an end user's graphs are at an individual level and allow them to draw similar conclusions. Putting both of those together in that cycle of figuring out what the problem is, making the change, and then measuring it, we were actually so thrilled with the feedback you gave us in the earlier part of this presentation, we decided to go after teamwork, and we've already built it. So just letting you know, thank you very much. That was excellent. So it was very confirming and validating that the first solution we're going after is teamwork. And Noel will walk you through a demo of this. Some additional solutions that we're actually building is sales productivity and manager effectiveness. And the way we think about these solutions is, today we have this analyst workbench. You can go look at the data, build that entire arc and that story I described to you, but we can also do it in the product for you. And so we give you the ability to do both. And clearly doing it in the product, our hope is gives you greater agility and accelerated change. I'm now going to call up Deepak to show you the product truth of what we have actually built with Workplace Analytics. And then after that, Noel's going to come and show you both MyAnalytics and solutions.
You guys can hear me? Yeah, all right. Okay, let me switch over. All right, thank you guys. So my name is Deepak. I'm a program manager in the Workplace Analytics team. And before this, I used to be in the Office 365 security and compliance team. And I think this time last year, I did the session on GDPR. So before I go into the actual product demo, one of the things I do want to talk about is the amount of work that we've done to make MyAnalytics and Workplace Analytics GDPR compliant. And I have a big session on that tomorrow. So if you're interested in how we actually made sure we are GDPR compliant, please do come in. The first thing I want to address is, how do you get into Workplace Analytics? So previously, it was harder to buy the licenses. Simple thing was you could go into your Office 365 admin and purchase licenses for other products. You could not do that for Workplace Analytics. So the first work we did this year is to make it easy for you to purchase Workplace Analytics. Number one. And then number two, we removed the minimum size that you had to be in your organization to go purchase these Workplace Analytics licenses. So there you go. It's really easy to set up. And you go purchase the licenses and assign those licenses to your end users. All right, so now that you've done that, you come into Workplace Analytics as the first-time admin. The first thing, I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me zoom in a little bit. All right. Step one, purchase the licenses. So here you go. Your licenses are assigned. So I confirm. I hit next. And so this is the flow for the first-time admin of Workplace Analytics. And the first thing you do over here is set up your privacy settings. So what Kamal talked about, how do you aggregate data in Workplace Analytics? You go set that up immediately. Once you do that, you can also say, these are some of the subject lines that I don't want to talk about, that I don't want to get analyzed. These are the domains that I don't want to be analyzed. So let's say you're working with the Department of Defense, for example. You don't want those kinds of collaboration activity to get analyzed. You've got all those controls set up right there in the beginning. Once you do that, you say, I confirm all my privacy settings are correct. And then we're effectively saying, at this point, for all your licensed users, we'll pull the Office 365 data and start analyzing it. And this is the point where it is email and meeting data, but as Kamal said, once we bring in Skype, we bring in Teams, all of that will just automatically happen. All right, you've done that. There's one more step left for you as the admin, which is to upload an HR file. The HR file is important because it tells me, or it tells the product rather, how your people are connected in the organization. So you want to know how the organization is set up, what are the functions, who are managers, etc. So you upload the HR file, and it's a really simple step. Once you upload the HR file, it tells you, okay, these are your required fields, so I want to see what my level in the organization is. I want to see whether they're in the sales org or in the marketing org, etc. Once you do this, you're pretty much done. It's super easy to set up. We've spent a lot of time in the last year making the setup process really easy. All right, now that you're set up, this is what Workplace Analytics looks like for the first time. So how many of you have seen this demo before, the Workplace Analytics page? All right, for those who haven't, this is the product page where you can actually see some of the insights that Kamal talked about earlier, but it's available in the product as a website. So we've divided into 4 big parts. Week in the life pretty much talks about how your employees collaborate within the organization. So the example that I like to show here is your collaboration hours, and like I said, you've got your meeting hours and your email hours. In this particular organization, who have, I think, 10,000 employees, you can see that the marketing team is spending more time collaborating than other people. And so you can go here, click in, and you'll see that at some point of time in July, there was a slight uptick in collaboration activity. You can also see how much time they're spending after hours, and you can see that there is a direct correlation in after hours activity. Again, both of these are telling you that there is some incident that happened, or there is a product launch, or a leadership change. It could be any one of those things. But you can then go into the data and figure out what is causing that uptick, and if there is a direct correlation with probably employee engagement going down. Again, stuff that Kamal showed earlier. We also have this cool new concept of meeting effectiveness. So over here, there is 3 things that I want to call out. We have this concept of what we call a low-quality meeting. What we define as a low-quality meeting, and this is by no means the perfect definition, but this is what we've heard from our customers is a pretty good definition. Meetings where you attend, how many people have been in meetings and you've sent emails or you've been chatting while in the meeting? Show of hands. There you go. There's nothing wrong about it. Maybe you had to do it, but maybe you didn't have to be in that meeting after all, right? And this is where we have a certain threshold for, let's say you have to send 3 or 4 meetings, 3 or 4 emails, or you have to be in chat for 10 minutes during that meeting. That's when we say this is probably not a good use of your time. The second one is what we call redundant hours, where you are in a meeting, your manager is in a meeting, and manager's manager is in a meeting. So there's 3 levels in the organization in the same meeting. Again, we're not saying that it is always a bad thing, but it is also a good indicator of whether that organization is empowering the individuals to go make decisions. And so it's a good indication of whether this is a low-quality meeting. Again, the third one is how many people have sent a meeting invite. You need to make a decision, and people have said either they've not accepted or they've not declined. Show of hands. Right? Again, this is what we call conflicting hours. This is where you're either double booked or you don't get a response from the person. And again, you have invested the time, but then the other person who needs to be there for the decision making hasn't showed up. So now again, if you look at the same marketing side, you can see that their low-quality meetings are really high. Again, all of this is, although it is demo data, it is based on real-world examples and stuff like Enron data, for example, right? So this is what we call Workplace Analytics for collaboration and meeting overload, the stuff that you guys really liked earlier. What have we done new this time? So what we've introduced this time for the first time is what is called external collaboration. And so if you look at this over here, it kind of tells me how much time I'm spending with all my external collaborators.
if I zoom in and show you guys what that is. So here I see that I'm spending 2,000 hours with vendor 9. With customer 28, I'm spending almost 1,800 hours. And so this is your email and meeting time with external people. Now I can pivot this on how many people are engaged with these customers or vendors or partners. Again, really cool data that shows you how many people from your side are engaged with these customers. I can also go and look at network sizes. So if you look at this, I see that my sales team correctly has made the most number of external network connections. And you can also see how many customers they've met. And again, the sales team ranks pretty high. They've met with 40 different domains in the time period that I've mentioned. So this, again, gives you an idea of how your time and people are being spent with external collaboration. And Noel will talk a little bit more about that in the sales productivity solution. All right, so this is what we call the out-of-the-box insights that we provide. These are leading indicators of collaboration. But let's say you want to do a little bit more of a deep dive. And this is where Workplace Analytics really shines, because we have what is called the Analyst Workbench. And with the Analyst Workbench, one of the things you can do is you can create queries. And a typical query, I've got an example over here, so I'll just show you. No, it's a slide, but it's a pretty good example. Wait for that to load. All right, so we've got a standard set of queries. So take this query, for example. So it's a meeting query, and I want to look at meetings that are basically organized by, or you can say were attended by a certain number of people. And therefore, the example over here that I have is I want to see all the meetings where the attendees were from marketing. And I want to see what these guys were talking about. So if it is a quarterly business review, I want to know how many people were attending the quarterly business review. And again, this gives you the insight. It gives you the data, the raw data, that you can then take out into Power BI and then do an analysis on it. So what does that look like? So I've got an example over here, which is an out-of-the-box Power BI template that we've created for Collab Overload. You can get to this today through the Workplace Analytics product. It's directly connected to the query engine that we just showed you. And the results, we give you a bunch of pre-built templates. And so you can use this, you can use the slicers, and you can break it down, you can do a deeper analysis, and figure out where the issues are in your organization. All right, now that you've figured out where the issues are in the organization, this is where you know, okay, I know where I have to make the change. Now, how do I go about making that change? And so I'll invite Noelle up to the stage, and she can show you how MyAnalytics can actually help. Any questions about this? Yes, please, if you can come to the mic, please.
Two quick questions. Can you go over the licensing one more time? And what modalities or what applications within O365 are we tracking today?
You want to take it, or?
Yeah, thank you for that, and we'll answer that one question, and thank you. It's an excellent, excellent question. So today, MyAnalytics is part of E5. Workplace Analytics is available as a separate add-on that if you, depending on whether you buy E1, add it to E1, E3, or E5, you get a corresponding discount to it. So that is the way in which we license it and we offer it. There is an advantage to, you need to have a certain set of users that you do license because we build analysis across multiple users. So kind of similar model to the way when you do ATP, when you're protecting for phishing, it doesn't really help if you protect one user but not the other. So there's a certain min set that it just intuitively makes sense that you should buy to get the most value out of the product. So that's kind of the licensing. The second question about modalities is, so today we have email and calendar are the primary sources. And what we found is that still accounts for the largest percentage of user time in Workplace Analytics. Within MyAnalytics, and Noel's actually going to show a demo on this, we have, in addition to email and calendar, we also have Skype, and the same background infrastructure is applying to Teams that is going to be rolled out in a short few months. So that's where we're at. And after that, of course, is all the other ones I mentioned, which is OneDrive, SharePoint, all of those modalities, as well as we're looking at third-party modalities. What I'm going to do is let Noelle do her demo, and then we will come back, because I want to leave a lot of time at the end, if possible, for questions. Thank you so much.
No more questions now.
Okay, awesome. Can you guys hear me okay? Great. So my name's Noelle. I'm also a program manager on the Workplace Analytics and MyAnalytics team. So after that demo of Workplace Analytics, what we're going to do is flip over to the end user product, which is MyAnalytics. Let me zoom this in a bit. So I know a few folks here said they were Workplace Analytics customers. Anybody MyAnalytics customers? Awesome. E5 customers? Nice. So MyAnalytics is really about empowering your end users in your company to understand how they spend their time at work and how they could make that time more productive. Are they spending time on the right things and with the right people? And as Kamal mentioned, this war on attention, you know, we end our day, we're not sure what we got done, but we know we were busy. And we want to kind of try to shed some light on what's going on there. So in MyAnalytics, what we give you is a personal dashboard that shows you how you spend your time across a couple different buckets. So these top 4 are really a good summary of how you spend your time at work across meetings, email or communication, focus hours, which is a concept we have of 2-hour blocks of time in your calendar with no meetings, which is really time that you can get work done. If you're just fragmented during your day, you don't really have enough time to do that deep thinking work you need. And then we also show you how much time you're spending doing collaboration work outside of your working hours, which could mean that you're overloaded during the day. So not only is it important to understand how you spend your time, but also who you spend that time with. Sorry, I can't move. Okay, so not only who you spend that with the time on, but who you spend your time with. So this is a view we have that we call our network map. And what it really shows you is across your network, who are you spending the most time with and the least time with, and is that the right distribution? On the right-hand side, you can see that we give you some stats about your relationship with that given individual. Things like, how much time am I spending with them in meetings? How much of their email am I reading? You know, in this case, 97%, that's pretty good. But if it was something like 50%, you know, I really should maybe catch up on this person's email a bit more. Another thing we show you is around your response time. And this could be really important in some customer relationships, let's say. So in this case, you know, a response time of 30 minutes, and you can decide for yourself, is that fast enough? Do I need to be faster? Or is that a sign that I might be distracted by email? Am I responding too quickly? You can note here as well that we've added calls and chats. So this is a new thing we've just added using Skype for Business, and we are adding Teams coming by the end of this year. How many people have you started using Teams already? And how many people are loving it? Yeah, awesome. I'm also loving it. So we're really excited about adding that. And it kind of adds another flavor to a relationship. It's really interesting to note that you might have kind of a chat relationship with someone, but you never meet them in person. And that could maybe be an insight to say, oh, I actually want to catch up with that person face to face, not just over IM. So another thing we try to do in the product is derive insights for you based off of this data. And those things can be just interpretations of your data to help you understand yourself a little bit better, or things that are directly actionable. So in this case, this insight says, hey, it's been 3 weeks since you last had a one-on-one with your manager. Do you want to meet them? So we know that, as Kamal mentioned, having one-on-one time with your manager directly impacts attrition in some companies, and definitely employee engagement. And so often meetings fall through the cracks, and you don't even realize that it's been a certain amount of time before you've met with your manager or you've met with your direct reports again. So this insight's meant to kind of show you that and remind you maybe you should set up some time. Another insight we show is about over-collaboration. So while it's great to collaborate with your colleagues and your peers, you don't want to spend too much time with any one person because we all said that we've been in some useless meetings. Has anyone ever felt like they were just redundant in a meeting? Like they didn't really need to be there? So they've got it covered. So this insight saying, hey, I spend 65% of my time with Lynn is kind of a signal of that. And I actually had this happen to me in my team. We had another person join the team, and as we were kind of onboarding them, at first you want to spend a lot of time with that person helping them ramp up, but then you need to start to kind of divide and conquer and split that time. And so after I saw this insight, it was kind of a point to me to say, okay, is this the right time to make that transition? And the last insight I'll show you here is about distraction. So one thing that's really interesting is I think a lot of people think that when they respond to email really quickly, that's like a good behavior and you should be checking email all the time. But actually what we see is people who do that never get enough time to actually focus on their work if you're constantly going back to Outlook and checking your email. So this insight is telling you that you read 40 of your emails within 30 minutes of receiving them, which is a sign that you're constantly checking your inbox and not allowing yourself to kind of disconnect and have that offline time. So what we do on the rest of the dashboard is start to break down these categories by kind of these areas of meetings, collaboration, after hours. One thing I want to highlight is within meetings, we talked about low quality meetings, and when you bring it down to the individual level, you can get really specific about which meetings are low quality. You can see some indicators here, things like conflicting meetings, multitasking in meetings, etc. And what I can do here is actually look at my meetings in particular and see, okay, which one of these have a couple leading indicators that could be a sign of a low quality meeting. So in this case, let's look at this Trey Research Weekly Content Review. You can see I commonly multitask in it. It's a recurring meeting and it's a long meeting. So it seems like there might be some opportunity for me to change some aspects of that meeting. Maybe I could reduce the frequency of that meeting, or perhaps I don't even need to attend. So the last thing I'll highlight in our dashboard is about the addition of chats and calls to after-hours work. So as we mentioned, our vision is really to encompass all of our signals from Office 365, but we know that calls and chats is a large part of what happens during after-hours work, so we're excited to have this added now. So with that, I'm going to flip over to how MyAnalytics shows up in Outlook. So we've kind of been mentioning this concept of nudges throughout the presentation. Behavioral nudges, if you guys haven't read any of the new articles about it, is kind of a new way to nudge people towards better behavior. And it's been applied in a wide variety of areas. There was an interesting article last flu season about flu vaccinations and how fewer and fewer people are getting flu vaccinations every year, which is a huge problem. And they tried to do some things using behavioral nudges, like auto-enrolling people into having a flu appointment just booked for them. And that increased the flu vaccination rate by like 36% in that treatment group. Another surprising thing was when they did a treatment on people and just said, have your doctor remind you to get a flu appointment, it shot up by 80%. So you know that just these small things you can do to nudge users towards better behavior can have a huge impact. And we're trying to apply that to productivity as well. So in Outlook, what we've done is implemented these nudges, you can see it in this gray bar, to try and help you make these better decisions. Everybody's stressed at work, everybody's busy no matter how many meetings you have, and so we're trying to just help you by nudging you into the right direction. So in this case, I just got a meeting request for next week, and I see this nudge saying, hey, it looks like you have a lot of meetings next week. Do you want to reserve some time for focused work? So how many people book time for themselves to get work done? Awesome, great habit. But how many people, like how far in advance do you do that? Maybe like the Monday of the week when it starts, maybe the Friday before if you're really good at planning. But what we see really happening for people is their weeks fill up like the Tuesday before or the Wednesday before. And so then you just miss that time and your week is already booked in meetings. So what we do here is we try to notify you proactively so that before your week is full, you can go ahead and select some slots and we'll book that time for you in your calendar. Really trying to help you proactively get that time to focus. So another thing that we do is we're trying to address work-life balance. So let's imagine I'm now in my after-hours time and I've gone to email someone. I'm a manager of a team and I often need to work after hours because I haven't been using the focus feature, so I don't have enough time during the day. But I don't want to necessarily impact my team after hours, even though I have to work. So what this nudge tells you is that you've been having an impact on your employees after hours. Do I want to consider clarifying my urgency? So I can just add a note that says, hey, you can respond to this during work hours, don't worry, and hopefully kind of reduce that impact on my team. We're also working here on potentially the option of just auto-delaying delivery so that I can just get this out of my inbox and kind of move on. So the last nudge I'll show you is really about that outcome to help you improve and maintain your relationships. So often in email, you get asked to do something like, hey, will you send me the PowerPoint deck by Thursday? Or I tell someone, yeah, I'll send you feedback by tomorrow. But we send so many emails that we just forget. So what we tried to do here is help you keep track of those things you say you'll do. So in this case, I got a mail from Isaiah, and this nudge is telling me that I have some outstanding to-dos for Isaiah if I want to review them. So if I click on this, it'll open our Outlook add-in, and I can see that list of things that I said I would do in email. And now this is just automatically happening and kind of being extracted from that email content based on some machine learning algorithms. And so this really helps me just stay on top of these things and feel like Microsoft has my back, and I don't really need to maintain my own to-do list necessarily. So those are the 3 nudges that we've got right now. Those actually started shipping this week, so we're super excited to start hearing your feedback on those. But there's a number of other things that we do in the Outlook add-in that aren't necessarily in context, but they're also just useful during your work week. So one thing I want to highlight is what we call our read statistics feature. And what this does is when you send out these really large mails, a status mail, that you spent a long time formatting and collecting data for, and just getting the subject just right, you really want to know, like, hey, did my message land? Did people actually open my mail? Or did I spend that time for nothing? So what we allow you to do here is see how many people open your mail, were you getting replies and forwards, and if you've attached a OneDrive document, we'll show you what percentage of people opened that document as well. And so it's great in the case of sending out an announcement to your team, but it's also good in the case of sending out a meeting and you want to know if people are prepared, have they even opened the document? And in this case, if they hadn't, I can click here and follow up with them. So the last thing I'll show you from MyAnalytics is each week we send you, let me close this. Each week we'll send you a kind of summary email of how last week went. And we're working on making this more and more personalized to you. But you'll get kind of your highlights from last week, an insight, and you can click through to see more of that on the dashboard. So that's MyAnalytics. I'll pause for a second if anyone has any questions. Yep.
When you was tracking emails in and out of hours, does it also track if they were sent from a mobile device, laptop? Does it make that speed?
So it'll track where it's coming from, what device, but if it's still in your after hours, we would consider that after hours. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I'll repeat the questions. So the question was, how do we get to the screen where it had the sent stats? So we have an Outlook add-in. In Outlook Web, you can see this button here is where you can access it, and it'll come out as a pane. In Outlook for Windows, it's in the ribbon, as well as Outlook for Mac. Yep, go ahead.
My question is an extension of that. How far can you, I guess, drill down into see who's reading it? Like, can you do it by departments, by people? What can you see there?
Yeah, so at this point, we do it just in aggregate for the mail, and it has to be sent to 5 or more people. We maintain the same kind of privacy restrictions around aggregate group size. We are looking at options, and we have our PM here, actually, who is working on that feature, so if you want to come up after, we can talk about it.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Will the notifications show up in the Outlook desktop client for, like, hey, your colleagues are emailing you outside of work? Is that included in the add-in?
Yeah, so all the nudges that I showed are available in Outlook for Web and Outlook for Windows in the latest versions, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'll take you in a second. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nope, it's going to be on for them, yep.
So we've got E5, and I've been asked to roll this out, so I'm going to engage with HR. Do you have any materials on how you'd launch this to the business and how, because you would get sensitive questions back and what it means to them and how others can see it?
Yeah, we do. And we have them listed at the bottom of the session, but if you want to come up after, we can talk more about it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So I'm going to move on and show you a demo of solutions, which you heard about earlier. So this is really the combination of the products and how that comes together. So now we're back in Workplace Analytics, and you are an analyst, and you've been told by leadership, you just did an engagement survey to kind of measure, how happy your employees, are people feeling like they can innovate. So in Workplace Analytics, the first place you start is identifying the group that has a problem. So in this case, we're going to start with meeting hours, but I could also explore focus hours and after hours, all part of that collaboration overload problem. So what I can see here is a couple different questions I might want to answer. Which groups are spending the most time in meetings? Is this trending differently over time? Maybe at Christmas it goes down, et cetera. But what I really want to do is pull in the data from our engagement survey and see what that looks like. So I can apply these filters here to say, okay, I want to group by innovation capacity, which is a question that was asked on the survey. So one of the coolest things about Workplace Analytics is the ability to kind of bring in any data you have from your organization to overlay that context that only you can have, really. So now I've got this grouped by innovation capacity, and I can see, okay, very low innovation, medium innovation. They all pretty much look like meeting hours maybe isn't highly correlated, but I want to check how this is impacting the engineering team, who by definition probably shouldn't have as much meetings because they're more of a maker role. So let's go ahead and filter that to engineering. And now we can clearly see that people who reported having very low innovation have higher meeting hours than those who said medium or high innovation. So this kind of seems like a problem group. It validates my hypothesis about this. So what I can do with solutions is I can select this group. I can create a program, and I can set a goal for this group. So I think their average was 22 hours, so I'll say, okay, let's just reduce the group average by 2 hours. And if I submit this, what happens is it'll come to the next step, which is really about managing these programs. And I can kind of complete the process to get this plan going. So this gives me some details. And I'm basically just setting it up to go into MyAnalytics. So this next piece I want to spend some time on. What's really interesting here is that we choose shared habits for everyone who's working on this solution. So people said that they had a lot of useless meetings, but who thinks that they're in control of those useless meetings, all of them? Or is it everyone else's fault, right? But what we think is that if everyone is working on shared habits together, then you can hold each other accountable and say, hey, let's have 45-minute meetings, or hey, stop multitasking, we said we'd pay attention. So if everyone has these shared goals, you're more likely to get that outcome, especially when it's something you're not in control of yourself. So with solutions, you essentially choose the habits for everyone in the solution. And what happens when I submit this is now this plan's created, and essentially it's pushed down to all of the end users who were part of that high meeting, low innovation score group. Now keep in mind, this is all anonymous and aggregated, so I don't know as the creator of this who those people were, but what happens next is all of them will get a new page in MyAnalytics, if we flip back, for their specific program. So in this case, the goal of the program is to reduce meeting overload. So here I can see, I'm in week 4 now of this program, and I can see how my meeting hours have changed over time and how the group is doing, because we really win and lose together. If I reduce my meeting hours but no one else does, is my team really getting better? And then I can see those specific habits that were chosen for my group to help us accomplish this goal. One thing that's super interesting here is, I showed you those nudges, but imagine with this, we can light up even more nudges that are very specific to the problem that you're working on. Something like combining shared meetings, maybe that's not a habit that everyone has to have, or declining optional meetings, but if you were in this program, we could start to really personalize your experience and show you nudges that were meant for you. So as this change is going on, back in Workplace Analytics, we obviously want to track how that's changing. So kind of the third step is to see that progress over time. So what I can see here is, again, in week 4, how the team is changing in aggregate. They've had an 11% reduction in meeting hours, which is awesome, and it kind of lets you know, how the program's going. So again, this is our first solution that we're working on around that collaboration overload problem, and we've seen really good case studies so far in our customers. So I'm going to give you a quick preview of the next solution that we're working on, which is around sales productivity. So these are some early designs, keep that in mind. But if you look at the third row here, it's called foster customer relationships. So 2 of the things we know are super important in sales productivity is spending the time with the right accounts, the ones that have the most potential, and also having deep enough connections in those accounts. So you don't want to be spread really thin, and you want to be sure that you're spending the time with those who matter. So in the solution, what you can do is you can light up new habits that are custom to this. So in this case, it's things like booking time for networking events, setting monthly network growth goals, things that are only relevant to salespeople who are working on this. And then these habits will be pushed down to MyAnalytics as well. The last thing I'll show you, and Kamal mentioned this earlier, but we've been running this kind of pilot in Microsoft. If you were at the fireside chat yesterday, you heard them talk about it. And these are some examples of the things that your salespeople could see. On the left-hand side, you're looking at basically a map of potential of a customer mapped with time spent on that customer. And the orange ones are things that I, as a salesperson, need to be spending more time on. And on the right-hand side, this is looking at my amount of connections in a customer. And the orange ones are the ones where I maybe need to deepen my connections a little bit and meet some more people. So you can see the framework of solutions being able to identify that group, push things down via MyAnalytics and track the change, and how it can apply to things like collaboration overload or sales productivity or any of the other things that we talked about on that worksheet. So we're really excited to continue expanding that. So I'm going to end there. I'm going to invite Kamal back up to talk about privacy, and we'll wrap up with roadmap.
Okay, folks, so we're running out of time. Thank you, Noelle.
Yep.
So I'm going to just move us over to the, and so thank you for the person who asked the privacy question, because I covered most of this when I answered that. And really the conclusion there was to add to those 2 principles was really just that we are also GDPR compliant. It is a requirement. And we have spent a lot of time with our European customers working through this story. And the other person who asked the question about how we roll this out, privacy is a big part of how we roll this out. And so we have guidance about how you do that for both Workplace and MyAnalytics. And so we'll point you to that content. But what I wanted to kind of leave you with and just conclude and make sure that we have time for questions is the way we think about this and what we're trying to build and aspiring to, and we want your feedback to help us build the right thing, is we want to see if we can help individuals be more productive, and that's effectively MyAnalytics, but not just MyAnalytics as the surfaces we described, but those nudges throughout every place that the end user lives. So imagine Teams, imagine SharePoint, Word. How can we ensure that there is space for you to produce the content that you actually need to be an effective information worker? The second piece is for organizations, and that is really our workplace analytics solutions. How do we create these aggregated views that allow you to implement that business change? And the third piece is what I started with, which is that platform of intelligence and privacy and all of that data brought together to create a normalized view that allows you to determine where is your time going, who are the important people for a network, how are you going to actually implement that change. So here's our roadmap, thought about across those 3 pillars. We would love your feedback. This is an important problem. We are learning. It's not actually a problem that very many people have solved before. And we have heard from our customers at Microsoft, because of the amount of time our end users spend creating. So you write symphonies, you write patterns in Microsoft products. And so that is the place where content gets created. So how do we do it in a way that enables and empowers the end user and the organization and helps them deal with the overload that modern life actually creates and modern work creates? So thank you very much. We're going to stay here and answer questions, and if we run out of time, I will still be here or we will be outside, but we would love your thoughts and your feedback until then, and for those of you who have to leave, feel free, but we'll stay for questions. Thank you. So the question was, does this work in a hybrid environment? So thank you, excellent question. So for what we have today is you do have to go to the cloud to analyze the data, because all of that stuff with normalizing it, the intelligence, However, we are working on currently a solution that allows you, if you are in the process of migrating, to get a subset of the data into the cloud so we can do the analysis for you. It is an ongoing thing. We have a set of partners that we're working with to actually enable that. And it is something that you have to maintain and sort of pay for while you are doing your migration to the cloud. But that is the process, and so if you have a customer, you're in that situation, please do email us, because that would be a good conversation for us to have. Thank you.
I have one.
Yes, please, go for it.
First of all, a comment and then my question. I think you're doing a great job, and I think the potential for individuals are really big. I have a strong, healthy skepticism when it comes to cultural transformation, because what I hear and your reference cases, it's American companies.
Right.
I've been working in German companies, Swedish companies, American companies, and to do a cultural transformation based on what is the baseline and what is the philosophy behind when you define those things.
Yep.
I would, as European, not trust you yet on the cultural transformation part.
Yep.
I would definitely trust you on the individual, and that is what I'm going to pitch back home.
Yep.
So that's the comment around your product.
Yeah.
Historically, Microsoft Project has been American product since it was launched.
Yeah.
And in Europe, we have struggled with the strict hierarchy that is built within that product.
It's absolutely a great point. And please ask your question, and
yes.
then I'd like to respond to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Deepak, when you did your demo, you mentioned the importance of uploading the HR information. And many of the organizations I worked in has been departmental and following the structure in Active Directory when it comes to who is responsible for what you produce and all. But many others have been strictly matrices where the line manager only approves invoices and doesn't have a clue in what projects his entire team are involved in full time. So when it comes to individual performance then
the manager hierarchy is not as relevant in certain environments.
No.
Yeah,
so is it possible to, when you configure it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So in fact, I'll answer that really quickly and say, it's a great point about cultural transformation is specific to culture. And one kind of just humorous is when we do the whole after hours, like you shouldn't work after hours, we give you a warning. We had this joke where when we do it with and I can say this because with the India team, one humorous thing that someone from the India team told me was, what do you mean I shouldn't work after hours? I see that as a challenge. Not a warning. That was a challenge to me. I can work even harder. What do you mean? So I think that point is something that we are very cognizant of. And the product is actually, those stories, some of them, they are not entirely US. And so us thinking through that and doing the right thing there, we would love your feedback to make that true. But it is something that we are cognizant of. To your second point about, it's a CSV file. You can determine who are the people you want to designate in that role when you upload the CSV file for HR upload.
Yeah, but it's always two of them.
You know what, let's do that offline, and we should talk more, but thank you, that's okay. I assume thank you.
One short question regarding...
And I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to get down, and we can do questions here, or I'll be right outside, and then we should just do more, but please.
What about other cloud solutions like Dynamics 365 and LinkedIn? You have the LinkedIn graph, the Dynamics 365
That's
graph.
a great question. So you know that, I don't know if this is fully rolled out, but essentially today you can in the address book, you can say I want to include LinkedIn data, and if you as the user consent, it brings in that LinkedIn data. So think of that as the first step, and absolutely, short answer, yes. We are working very closely with our partners in Dynamics, and the way you can think about it from an internal perspective is we are responsible for the insights, and our hope would be that any organization that wants to build on them, within or without Microsoft, has the ability to, and we will expose those insights in, say, an API. And so we won't share how we compute those or what their meaning is, but that is sort of the intention and the strategy there. Okay. Thank you. It's a great question. Thank you, everyone. I will get down, and then I will be right there. And I would love to hear more feedback and questions. It's like we build it based on what you tell us. So thank you.